Now, I invite you to join in our affirmation, the words for our affirmation. And Robin Carpenter, who is our neighbor, she's a minister at the church that is across the river from us in Springfield, Vermont.
Love
And
is the doctrine of this church. Let's read it together. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve mankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus, we covenant with each other and with God. Thank you so much.
well, I'm so excited. This service was supposed to happen back in the early winter, and it got canceled because of an ice storm. And at that time, I said I emailed Ephraim and I said, we're going to do it again, and if it gets canceled again, you and I are going to camp out in the sanctuary and we'll film it and we'll do it. We can't cancel it again. So we're not camping out in the sanctuary, but here we are on Zoom. And so Ephraim, I'm so delighted that you're with us today. Ephraim is Diane Campbell's grandson. And also with him is his mom, Alaire. His dad, Seth, was on the call yesterday. I don't know if Seth is around, and also his sister Phoebe. When we met, when Ephraim and I met, was it a year and a half ago? We were in the sanctuary at the congregation, and I found out that he was interested in mountains. Well, I happened to be a total mountain enthusiast. I had my phone with me, and he and I just sat in the sanctuary for like half an hour. Almost all the pictures on my phone are of mountains. So when I showed him the ranges where I live, Mount Abe is right there. He knew the whole mountain range, and he was saying, well, where's Mount Allen? And mountains are his thing, totally Ephraim's thing. And in fact, he is named after the tallest mountain in Springfield, which is Mount Ephraim. So as we were sitting in the sanctuary getting to know each other and talking, I said, Ephraim, this is so exciting. Would you want to do a service? And he said yes. And he's only 9 years old, but he's quite an amazing person, as is his sister Phoebe. So he prepared for us a slideshow of some of his adventures on the mountain, which we will be able to see right now. So you want to go ahead and screen share what you have, Ephraim?
Start again. This is Mount Mansfield from our house, and the sun is about to come up over the mountain. And here's I forget what time of year this was. This was in like the fall, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
There's no leaves on the trees.
Yeah. And I thought this picture was pretty cool because of the clouds, the pink clouds rolling up there, rolling over the mountain, and the sun coming up. This is in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, and we're on Mount Kinsman, and right over there, the bigger peaks are
In the background.
In the background are Mount Lincoln and Mount Lafayette.
You can see how small the trees are compared to the people up there.
Yeah, the trees are pretty small up there, so I'm taller than them. And
how high is that?
Right in this picture, we're at about 4,200 feet. So.
Ephraim, you can use your cursor to move around. If you want to point to something on the screen. If there's something you want to point out to us, you can show us like that.
I'll do it. Okay, so this right here is Mount Lincoln. This is Mount Lafayette. This is Mount Liberty, and that is Mount Flume.
Who's in the picture with you?
That's my grandpa, and that's me right there.
I remember yesterday your dad told me you were 4 years old the first time you did your first major hike, right? You've been at this a long time. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And this picture right here is of forget where this was. Was it like the Long Trail?
It was on the way up to the Kinsman.
Oh yeah, it was on the way up to the Kinsman's, and that was the mountain I just showed you. This is like this is a moss right here, and the trees are just growing up out of the moss, and it's pretty moist. So and it's a good spot for this kind of trees or spruce trees. There.
Really peaceful.
Yeah. Here's Mount Mansfield. This is going down on the Sunset Ridge Trail. That's me. That's my friend right there, and is that her dad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's her dad, my friend's dad.
You can see Lake Champlain out in the distance.
Yeah, and here's Lake Champlain, and you see a few of the Adirondack Mountains out there on the horizon. And our house is somewhere over here.
So this is like looking like that other picture you had showing the mountain. This is kind of from the mountain looking out.
Yeah.
Back. Yeah.
And global warming. So you could, as you can see here, this, we didn't actually take this picture. It's of a mountain, and and there's like a big glacier on it, and I don't know when this picture was taken, but it was probably like
early 1900s.
Yeah, early 1900s maybe. And here's the mountain in like 2010, and see how much the glaciers melted there because of global warming. I was like, is that? And that's a mountain in the snowstorm. And this is in Ecuador. Where is that, Daddy? Which one?
Guayaquil?
No. Actually, yeah. I think this is a 14,000 footer in Ecuador, and the hike was pretty short. It was only like 1.5 miles, but because of the altitude, it was it seemed like it took like 2.5 hours just to go that far because it was the altitude like tires you out. So then you get pretty tired and you have to stop like every like 100 feet or so.
One thing that's cool about this is that these mountains have never had glaciers on them, and their rock is pretty different because of that. Because the mountains around here are all really ground down to like smooth rock or big, from the glaciers. Where this is really crumbly. You could kind of have these really knife edge ridges, and pieces would fall off all the time when you're hiking.
This is another picture in the White Mountains. I took this. Me and my mom took this last year when we did this big hike. This is Lake of the Clouds, and this is Mount Monroe. And Lake of the Clouds is pretty high up. It's about like 4,800 feet up, or like 5,000 feet up. And yeah.
Alpine area.
Yeah, in the alpine area, as you can see, there isn't much vegetation up here. There's a couple of patches of like brush, but
What's that called, like crumble?
no, where are
Oh,
they? Okay, yeah, you could call them crumholts. And this is the end of our hike. As you can see back here, this is Mount Monroe. Oh, I gotta use this cursor. Sorry. Way back here is Mount Monroe, and we're on Mount Jackson right now. And yeah, you can see sharp ravines in there, and yeah, like the picture of the mountains in Ecuador, it's kind of like that, because the mountains in New Hampshire are made of most of them are made of schist and not granite, which wears away faster. So they're a lot more like their points are a lot more sharper. And that's it.
Like, why you love mountains? Why do you like mountains so much?
Because they're cool.
You know, when you and I were talking about it a few months ago, Ephraim, one of the things that you were telling me about what you love so much about mountains, and I think about it especially now, you were saying how you get away from the noise and all of the people and the busyness. You know, there's a quiet up there on the mountains. Is that one of the things that attracts you still?
Yeah.
And you also mentioned the fresh air. Out of the
Yeah.
noise, the cars, the people. What's it feel like up there? Some people have actually never been on top of a mountain before, like you have. What's it feel like? It's hard to describe, isn't it? Can you try to describe it?
This feels nice because, like, I feel like down low, like, it can be pretty hot, and up higher, it can be cooler, so that feels good. And, you know, so, yeah.
One of the things I love when I'm up there like that, you can see so much. Like that you showed us that slide where you could actually see all the way to Lake Champlain and the Adirondacks. It's amazing, isn't it? The view up there.
Yeah.
For me, it's kind of like a feeling of freedom, because you're out of the crowds, out of the noise, out of the busyness, and you're kind of up high, and you have this expansive feeling of being
Yeah.
able to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to describe that feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
For me, it's like almost like my heart is expanding when I'm up on top of a mountain. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. Well, Paul is going to play another song for us. We're going to take an interlude, and then we'll come back with some more. So I'll unmute you, Paul. Thank you so much, Ephraim. Can you unshare your screen? And
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay. Well, I have a quote for you all. This is from one of our favorites, Henry David Thoreau. And it had a certain meaning before the pandemic. It has a different meaning now. Listen to this. Thousands of tired, nerve-shaken, over-civilized people are beginning to find out that going to the mountains is going home, and that mountain parks and reserves are useful not only as fountains of timber and irrigating rivers, but as fountains of life. Thousands of tired, nerve-shaken, over-civilized people are beginning to find that going to the mountains is going home, and that mountain parks and reserves are useful not only as fountains of timber and irrigating rivers, but as fountains of life. There's something about mountains, how they lift our vision. When we're in them, they renew us, they restore us. I have some slides I also want to share with you. I have a story I want to tell you. It's partly truth and partly fiction. This is a story about the adventures of Mia and Zia, two little kids. It's happening, and it's now. They live in India, and they have lots of friends whom they like to play with. This is slow. There we go. This is the village where they live. And one of the things they really love in their village, it's kind of, well, the scenery is not so great, maybe. But what they do really love about their village, they love when their grandparents tell them stories. Mia and Zia love to hear the stories about the old time, when everything was green and beautiful, when you could see up into the mountains from their village. You could see these mountains in the distance, and they were so gorgeous. And Mia and Zia's grandparents, when they were young, they went to the mountains. They actually took that long trip. They took an adventure to those beautiful mountains, and they met in the mountains a Swami. He wore all orange, and he was called the Swami who clicks. Swami who clicks. A Swami is a guru, a spiritual teacher. And this Swami lived up in the mountains. He was called the Swami who clicks because he took pictures all the time. He took pictures of the mountains. He loved the mountains. He loved the animals that lived there. And it was just so beautiful when Mia and Zia's grandparents told them stories about the Swami in the mountains, in the beautiful mountains. But from where they lived, they couldn't see the mountains. They just heard the stories from their grandparents. But then something kind of funny happened. There was this big thing going on in the world. It was called, a funny word, a pandemic, whatever that means. But when everybody had to be careful so they didn't get sick. But then when Mia and Zia went outside of their house and looked up, it didn't look like this anymore. It looked like this. Oh my goodness. They looked out in their village. They couldn't believe it. They could see the mountains just like their grandparents used to see. It was awesome. They looked and they looked. They'd never seen anything so beautiful in their entire lives. They couldn't believe that their whole life, when they were growing up in that little village, the mountains were there, but they couldn't see them. Why would that be? It was because of the pollution. And because of this pandemic thing, people stopped driving their cars. People had to stay home. And suddenly, the pollution went away, and Mia and Zia and all the other kids in the whole village could see the mountains. And they decided, right then and there, they were going to go to the mountains, do just what their grandparents had done. They would look for the Swami who clicks. And so they did. And their grandparents had told them the way you get to is you follow the great river, the Ganges River. Go to the river and go north. And so they did. And they followed the river. And it down in the city, it was really big and wide, but then they kept following it all the way up. It was a long trip. And they met other people who were traveling up to the source of the river. It's called the Ganges River, way up in the mountains, and they joined other people. They had to cross some rivers, sometimes on horses, sometimes on rickety bridges. And they kept walking, and they were getting tired, and it was getting dark out, and uh-oh, what were they going to do? But it was okay. They kept seeing beautiful mountains. Oop, I think I missed one. And they were so inspired. And they came to a village along the river, and they saw people. The river was sacred, and people used to wash in the river. And it was inspiring and beautiful. And as they marched, they saw beautiful sights. And finally, they came to the village at the top of the river. And they couldn't believe it, because there he was. And he had a camera in the wild, beautiful flowers and faunas of these gorgeous Himalayan mountains. And like their grandparents told him, he was kind of a strange guy, really good guy, but kind of a sense of humor. So they met the Swami who clicks. And he lived in this funny little hut way up on top. There were lots of other people visiting that day when they made it to the top. And the Swami was giving blessings to children that day. It was their lucky day. All kids got blessings from the Swami. And the Swami loved the mountains. He loved to take pictures, the vegetation, the animals he saw there. And it was the source of the Ganges River. That great, great, big, huge Ganges River came from this little spot. This is all ice, and out from under the ice is melting the river. But like Ephraim said in the picture that he saw, this was the big problem. You can see how big the glacier was in the 1780s, and it was melting and melting back and melting back. And the Swamis started living there long decades and decades ago. And in the Swami's lifetime, he saw it go away. The glacier gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And the Swami was really sad because this glacier is so beautiful, and all of the plants and animals depend on this water and the people. And he saw that some of the plants were dying, some of the animals were dying because of the pollution, and things were getting hotter. And the Swami was really sad. So he decided, he had this dream. He was the Swami, the monk who clicks. He wanted to start a museum and an education center where people, especially kids, could come and learn about the beauty of the mountains and learn about the great glaciers and learn about the animals and the plants and fall in love with it like he was and protect it. So the Swami had this dream for years to start an education center. And he did. And it just happened that Mia and Zia came onto the mountain the day that it was the grand opening. And in the center were so many pictures that the Swami who clicks took through his whole lifetime of the vegetation. It was a huge party that day. People came from all over for the grand opening. There's the new museum and education center. People came from far and wide, and there was a whole group of young people who were the hosts, and they organized and they greeted people. And Mia and Zia made friends with all these other young people, a little older than them, who were organizing this huge party. And talk about a party. There were important people who came from all over the country to learn about the source of the Ganges River and the glacier and how to protect it. Really important people, some people who had power to make a difference. And there were parties and wonderful food. It was really, really great. And they had special prayers and rituals, a blessing for the mountain. And Mia and Zia had a wonderful time there. They were so inspired. They fell in love with the mountain and all the trees and the monkeys and the animals and the plants and the river itself and the people there. And they decided right then and there, we are going to do something. We have a dream, just like the Swami had a dream to open up the center. Mia and Zia decided they had a dream too. They were going to make sure that all the kids in their village would be able to see the mountains forever. That they would make sure the smog went away, the pollution went away, and that global warming got reversed. Mia and Zia left the mountain and they headed down. And as they walked, they talked about their dream. It was a long hike back down the mountain, and they thought a lot about what they'd seen, all the wonderful friends they had made. And mostly, they thought about the beautiful mountain and the Ganges River that comes from there. And they got back down to their village. Wow. And they saw it again. And they had been there. They had been to the top of the mountain. And they came back and they told their friends, you can't believe what we saw up there. The Swami who clicks, he's still there. And he created an education center way up there. He wants us all to fall in love with the mountains and the water and the earth and the monkeys and the plants and do everything we can to make sure it's all healthy, to make sure that global warming doesn't continue. So let's make a dream together. Imagine it's 20 years from now. It's the year 2040. And Mia and Zia are all grown up now. They're really old. They're like in their 20s and 30s. And let's imagine it's the year 2040. What's going on for Mia and Zia? What's going on in their lives? Here's my dream about it. Here's my dream. Remember I showed you that picture of how the glacier it used to be a long time ago, the glacier was big and now the glacier's small. Well, my dream is this, that Mia and Zia worked really hard for 20 years and they helped change global warming so that in the year 2040, glacier is over here now. It's come back. And they actually had to move the education center because the glacier was in the way now. The glacier kept growing. And it was a big problem. Where are we going to put this beautiful education center that the Swami created? We have to move it because the glacier's doing so well that the education center's in the way now. That's my dream. And that me and Zia, all their friends get to play in their village. And now they have grandchildren themselves, Mia and Zia. And their grandchildren get to see the mountains all the time. And there's so much wildlife up there, things that in the time of the Swami, things that went away, they're coming back now. Animals and plants. And Mia and Zia have worked so hard, along with all their friends, to change global warming. And what makes them happiest of all is what they get to see is not a scene like this, but a scene like this. And Mia and Zia get to hang out with their children and someday their grandchildren and tell them stories about the beauty of the world. And Mia and Zia and their children get to enjoy this beautiful view of the mountains. So that's my dream for Mia and Zia. This is a quote again from John Muir. Climb the mountains and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine into flowers. The winds will blow their freshness into you, and the storms their energies. And your cares will drop away like the autumn leaves. So how about you? What's your dream? Yesterday, Ephraim, you were telling me your dream to climb all of the high peaks and the White Mountains by your 10th birthday, which is in July. You've done like 35 of them, so you got a few more to go, not too many. So that's a great dream to have, something that you want to accomplish. And mountains make you do that. They make you lift your vision, so you think big. Think of things that maybe have never been done before, like reversing global warming. Mountains make you dream. And all the fresh air and the power makes you feel the energy that you can do it. So what's your dream? What's the dream that you have in your heart? If you don't have one, I invite you to sit with that question. What's your dream for a beautiful future? Not just for yourself, but for your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. What's your dream? So Ephraim, you have any other thoughts for us? And Alaire, and Phoebe? You don't have to, but I'm just wondering if you want to say anything else about your dreams and your love of mountains before we go.
Anything else about your dream? I think just that we hope other people everyone gets out and enjoys the mountains safely. Don't go in them right now because they're too muddy and it's not good for the trails. And help take care of them.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, we all need to help take care of them. Yeah. Just like Swami Ji was saying up in the Himalayas, whether it's the White Mountains or the Himalayas, these mountains are our home. We live here. It's our responsibility to take care of them. It's our responsibility to dream big and imagine the health and well-being of all the mountains and of all the people. Any other thoughts, Ephraim?
Ephraim,
That's okay. If he's done, he's done. Anything else you want to share with us, sweetie?
Well,
What's the next mountain you're gonna hike?
I don't know.
I think he's done.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your enthusiasm about mountains. And maybe everybody here on this Zoom gathering is not going to climb a literal mountain like Ephraim does all the time, but what's the mountain in your life to climb? What's your dream? Something that you can aspire to, hope for, and accomplish. And for all of us to fall in love with our home, wherever we live, and take care of it. So our closing song, Steve and Laurel have a beautiful, beautiful song for us, and I do have the words to this one. It's the Vermont State Song. Get out your hanky. This Robert makes it. I love it so much. So let me bring up the words for the Vermont State Song. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. Steve and Laurel here. Hey, the one thing on the fourth line where it says, may they be strong, let's sing may we be strong and forever free. And please sing along, but mute yourself if you're not muted. And yeah, thank you for correcting that. And we'll go ahead and sing it.
It actually was written with they, but we prefer to sing it we. These green hills and silver waters are my home. They belong to me and to all of her sons and daughters. May we be strong and forever free. Let us live to protect her beauty and look with pride on the golden dome. They say home is where the heart is. These green mountains are my home. These green mountains are my home.
I love that song. We are so blessed. Those of us who are here in Vermont and few of you down there in the mountains of North Carolina, we are so blessed. And in those of you who are tuning in from New Hampshire, the beauty of the White Mountains. Wow. So what's your dream? What's your dream for a wonderful future? And if you want people to dream with, join one of our groups. Who will we be post-pandemic? We've got 4 groups going on. We've still got some spots in our groups. And so far, it's been wonderful. Those of you who are in a group, if you want to give a high five or a wave, it's been great. Yeah, we're really learning a lot, having a good time, getting to know each other, and dreaming together of this wonderful world that we are co-creating. So join one of our Who Will We Be post-pandemic groups if you haven't already. Let me share again those words from John Muir. One day's exposure to the mountains is better than a cartload of books. So get out. It's April. It's the beauty of spring. Get out and drink in the beauty around us. If you have found hope here, treasure it. Hope and dream of a positive future. If you have found challenge here, go and sit quietly with whatever is stirring in your heart. And if you have found community, connect and nurture. And if you have found your remembrance of a dream here, live it and bring the good news of your dream out into the world. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Sharon, you've got our bell and our candle. You're muted, Sharon. Okay, there you go.